It's the frickin' Guardians of the Galaxy.
Bring it down hard. Someday, put it together.
What are you doing?
What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Look at my shirt. Isn't it cool? Before we get started, today's question of the day is, what is the best MCU movie since Avengers Endgame? The best responses will be featured in my Guardians 3 spoiler review, and trust me, there are spoilers to talk about. Just not here. Still reeling from the loss of Gamora, Peter Quill rallies his team to defend the universe and one of their own, a mission that could mean the end of the Guardians if not successful, directed by James Gunn, of course rated PG-13 for intense sequences of violence, action, language, drug references, thematic elements.
Alright, I get it!
Maybe even a bit more than we're used to from other Marvel movies, man. James Gunn, he said, you know what, I directed the Suicide Squad, I've directed movies that are R-rated before, and I'm going to take some of those elements and make this Guardians of the Galaxy family-centric movie. That's what this is about. It's all about family.
I got family.
I'm gonna make it feel a little more edgy than usual. Now, MCU edgy, so not full-on R-rated edgy, but I really enjoyed certain sequences, especially when you look at Star-Lord and his line delivery, what Rocket goes through in this movie, the emotional toll on that character that's been building up through all of these films, and the fact that we're now able to see a little bit of backstory, a little bit of what makes Rocket tick, but also what got him in this position in the first place, and just moving our way through the team. I think Mantis gets a lot of build-up in this movie, and I like the fact that we kind of focused more so on Pom Klementoff's character, and her performance, as always, is really great. Also, man, there's a lot of character development in this movie, man. Drax goes through something that I thought was very unexpected, but it did so much for his character. I've been looking for them to do something with him like this. I just didn't think this would be it specifically. You'll know what I talk about when you see this movie, but I really enjoyed what they did, and there's one specific sequence where I think finally you get to kind of see what Drax can do physically. Gamora, a very different version of Gamora, and you can tell from the opening scene, and Star-Lord trying to build back up that relationship, and it's a little awkward. You get some humor from that. That was great. Nebula is a character that I think has grown so much in these movies. I started out just kind of like, I don't really like Nebula all that much. I love the first Guardians, but I didn't love Nebula. But the character development and the growth, specifically in the Avengers movies, and then really kind of what she is in this film, man, it may be one of the best arcs in the entire franchise. Specifically in this movie, Kraglin. There's a plot point that was set up after Guardians Volume 2. It's very brief. It's very kind of silly if you think about it, but there's a nice little arc there as well. So all of the characters that we're focused on, they're getting their individual arcs. I would say the best being Rocket. I would say some unexpected arcs being Mantis and Nebula. I also have to talk about Groot. And Groot is the character that we love because of the cute factor, but there are also one or two moments, maybe the most shortchanged of the bunch, because we've already done adult Groot, we've already seen Kid Groot, so what left is there to do in terms of originality, but some really nice action sequences, and there is definitely a presence in this movie. Then you have some new characters. I thought Cosmo was really funny. Now, we go away from Cosmo and Kraglin and all of the things happening at headquarters, right, at the Guardians of the Galaxy's home base, so we don't get to see them for a while. Maybe those two characters were a bit shortchanged, but I understand you can't fit everybody in evenly and equally. I'd say the character that is the most shortchanged is, unfortunately, Adam Warlock. This is somebody I was really looking forward to. Will Poulter does a nice job, right? He's kind of this adult baby. He doesn't really know. In a way, it's kind of like Drax, just very different. Drax doesn't really know how to operate around people. Adam Warlock doesn't really know how to operate around people. And when we see Adam, it's really cool, and I thought Poulter did a great job, and I have a feeling there's more to come with this character arc. That being said, there are so many moments in the movie where I said, we could stop what we're doing right now. We could go focus on Adam Warlock. We could go back to that side of the story and sort of this relationship that they build up, and then all of a sudden that relationship changes, and I'm sitting back going, we had a chance for an emotional moment there. And I get it, James Gunn, he's trying to pick and choose his emotions. We have to feel emotional over here and emotional over here. But there was a chance for Adam Warlock's story to kind of hit you really hard, and it just never got there for me because we cut away and we go back to something else that's happening, something that did benefit that other side of the story, but Adam Warlock unfortunately got shortchanged. So I'm excited to see what they do with this character, but in terms of what we got from this movie, maybe just a bit of disappointment there, but those are my expectations. Let's talk about the villain, the High Evolutionary. This is a villain that they do build up extremely well, and they give you lots of reasons to hate the High Evolutionary. I look at that guy and I'm just like, there's something about you I don't like, and I don't know what it is yet. And then you see the way that they handle him in the movie, it's like, oh no, that's it. You're pure evil, you bastard. I'm conflicted on the High Evolutionary because they do build him up as a great villain, but there are so many cliche moments and cliche lines that come out of his mouth. He'll say something or you'll explore his plan, and that's a plan that we've seen 1,000 times in 1,000 different movies, right? They do a really nice job with him, and I think the performance is really good. But in terms of the goal and the mission and beyond just the buildup of who his character is, it was somewhat generic. Now, they take that generic mission and they spin it and they make it more interesting because, once again, the focus is on the Guardians of the Galaxy, and you do get a back and forth at the end that was very, very satisfying. But I also like the fact, and just kind of moving on to the next point, I like the fact that this movie is very different, right? We have the generic mission, the cliche, oh, we got to go save the world, but then there's this other thing that's happening, and we have to go do something else. The team is on a mission to do something that is not specifically saving the world at first, and that mission, and you're going to see what that mission is, caused for some intense emotions. And I'm talking like tears, man. They're going to be flowing from some people, and there's a backstory here that they keep cutting back to, and some are going to say it ruins the flow of the movie. Some are going to say it ruins the pacing because it does, somewhat make it feel slightly jumbled in that way, but it's such a necessary story. And then I think of another point from those flashbacks, and really just from moments that we get towards the end. The CGI, the special effects, the visuals, the shots, the cinematography, blah, blah, blah. Technical things. Do you care? You should, because the movie looks freaking great. I've had complaints recently. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, very green screeny. Other comic book movies that have come out as of late within the last 2 years, extremely green screeny. Is that a term? They also utilize practical effects in this movie, along with the CGI. There are a couple of creatures here. One giant pig, this warhog-looking thing that's also a robot, and a couple of animals that are mixed with robot parts, and they're walking around, and I'm like, that looks real. I know it's partially CGI, maybe a bit of practical in there. That looks realistic. Groot looks amazing. And I mean, spectacular. The effects, the shot selection, and certain moments that are so beautiful, filled with color. I mean, bursting with color, and that's awesome. And then you go to the other side of the technical aspect, visual. Let's move to audible. The soundtrack, duh. But then we get into the third act, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot happening, and some people, some critics are probably going to use the word jumbled, and I can't fully disagree with them when it comes to certain moments. Let's answer some questions. Do you care about everything that's happening? Maybe not every single plot point, but most of the things, since our team is separated at one point and each character has their individual storyline, most of the things I cared about because they do such a good job with the building up of the team, but there may have been one or two subplots and one storyline in particular with Adam Warlock that, again, they don't explore, a little bummed out about that, where I just said this is a bit too much, and then it starts to take away from the emotional moments. There's something that's happening at the end of the movie and to one of our main characters, and it happens so quick, and you're like, oh, we're here now, and oh my God, they're doing that, and I feel like some people are going to watch this and say, well, they had a chance, they had an opportunity to do something huge, and they didn't do it, or they didn't execute. And a lot of people are going to walk out of this movie disappointed because they didn't necessarily get what they wanted. No, I'm going to be honest with you. I like the fact that I felt something in this movie. I felt a lot of things. Emotions were high and heavy, and there are some moments where actors really get to flex their acting chops. And how often can you say that in a big blockbuster movie like this where there's so much happening? But no, the genuine emotion and the intent of this movie and the spirit of this movie, I think, is the best aspect of it for me. James Gunn's intent, and you can feel that love and that passion for these characters. And the humor, I don't want to not talk about the humor. There are certain jokes that don't fully work, don't fully execute, but I won't lie. I laughed a lot in this movie. The subtle jabs, the subtle jokes, and you have to really pay attention to some things that Drax said, some things that Star-Lord said, and Nebula specifically, man. I had a great time with this. I really did.
Oh, good for you.
Before I give you my score, come back to this channel. We're talking Peter Pan and Wendy, Guardian spoiler review, and I may just be ranking all of the MCU movies to this point. Leave your comment down below. What is the best Marvel movie since Endgame? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is a special MCU entry. These characters continue to show growth, and this finale ties so much together. Fans will feel so many things when the credits hit, but it will be hard not to smile. This movie will bring joy and satisfaction to many. It brought joy and satisfaction to me. And there are 2 post-credits scenes. Not gonna talk about them yet. We will talk about them soon. Hey, subscribe, man. If you want to subscribe, listen. We're doing cool things on this channel. This is not my permanent set. My house flooded. I'm in an Airbnb, but we're going to be back because we're building a new set. Build it, and they will come. But if you don't come, well, at least, oh God,
That's what she said.
that's all I got. Thanks for watching. See ya.